Today, I would like to talk to you all about medical marijuana. And let me start off by asking you a couple questions. What would you do if your child was having seizures at a rate of 300 per week, and there was a medication that could help her control these seizures? Would you want to obtain that medication? Obviously, most of us would. Now, what if I told you that that medication was marijuana or cannabis? Would you still want to obtain that medication for your child? Cannabis has been legally obtainable in Colorado for medicinal purposes for over 2 years now. Many people have moved to Colorado to take advantage of their state laws concerning medicinal marijuana. Many of these people are parents of young children who suffer diseases like epilepsy. The Federal Drug Administration has not approved medical marijuana, and the government claims that marijuana has no medicinal uses. According to the WhiteHouse.org website, the federal government and the FDA both believe that marijuana is more damaging than it is beneficial to patients who use it. Dr. Sanjay Gupta is the lead medical affiliate of CNN.com and also a neurosurgeon. According to a documentary that Dr. Gupta filmed for CNN entitled Weed, every 19 minutes in the U.S., someone dies from an overdose of prescription drugs. Medicinal marijuana could replace many of these drugs. There has never been a documented overdose on marijuana or medicinal marijuana. This documentary follows a 5-year-old little girl named Charlotte through the process of obtaining cannabis oil to treat her epileptic seizures. Charlotte had an average of 300 seizures per week with no help from traditional medications. She was on 7 for her seizures. Her parents live in Denver, Colorado, and they were able to obtain a prescription card for Charlotte for cannabis oil and began giving it to her by mouth once per day. The effects were astounding. She was seizure-free for an entire day with the first dose. She had not been without a seizure since she was 3 months old. Charlotte is not the only child that has benefited from the medical effects of cannabis. Thousands of children have benefited from using cannabis that is low in THC levels and high in cannabidiol, or CBD levels. THC is the active ingredient in marijuana that gives users the high they feel shortly after consuming it. CBD is an active ingredient in marijuana that has been reported by many medical professionals to treat disorders such as epilepsy, Parkinson's disease, side effects of chemotherapy for cancer patients, and a list of other medical conditions. Cannabis is commonly referred to as marijuana and has been used to treat side effects of chemotherapy for many cancer patients nationwide, and also to treat AIDS patients who are suffering from loss of appetite and wasting. I would first like to start off by talking to you about the National Cancer Institute and their stance on medical marijuana. The NCI states that medical marijuana has limited side effects and is safer than most prescribed drugs. The NCI also states that more clinical trials are needed to decide whether or not the benefits outweigh the side effects of using medical marijuana. Many doctors believe that marijuana should be available to patients who need it because it has the ability to treat a host of different illnesses and diseases with minor side effects. There are limited side effects from marijuana use and no concrete evidence to suggest that it is more harmful than helpful. Marijuana farmers have had huge success over the last couple of years with reducing the levels of THC in marijuana and increasing the levels of CBD, which causes the drug to not get the user high, but to treat the symptoms they're experiencing. Researchers in Israel have been studying marijuana and its effects for more than 20 years. In all that time, they have yet to come up with reports of permanent damage in individuals who have been using medicinal marijuana. What about the FDA? Are they on board with medical marijuana? What about all the negative things you hear in the media about marijuana? Now, I would like to discuss some of these. The FDA has not approved marijuana for medical purposes, and the DEA has classified marijuana as a Schedule I drug since 1996. The FDA states that marijuana is non-beneficial to the medical field and is harmful to consumers. However, the FDA will not approve any medical trials to be performed on marijuana to actually support the useful effects or support the fact that it's harmful. Marijuana has been found to be addictive. Although many people may not believe this, marijuana abuse is most common among adolescents. The data shows that marijuana addiction affects 9 out of every 11 marijuana consumers, roughly 9%. There are more juveniles in treatment for marijuana abuse than any other drug, but 97% of those that are in treatment are there because they took a plea agreement to prevent them from going to juvenile detention. Instead, they chose to get treatment. Marijuana use in teens and young adults is a gateway drug. I'm sure we've all heard that. The fact is that yes, marijuana can be a gateway drug to other drugs. However, less than 1% of the people that have used marijuana have moved on to harder drugs like cocaine and heroin. So what does all this mean? Well, for starters, we can't deny that marijuana does have some minor negative side effects. According to the National Institute of Health's website, only 6% of research that was done on marijuana was done on the medical benefits. The other 94% was done strictly on the negative side effects. Marijuana has more positive medicinal uses than negative side effects. Most of the effects of marijuana can be bred out of the plants, leaving behind all the good stuff to help people with their diseases such as Lou Gehrig's disease, epilepsy, Parkinson's disease, chronic pain, and other conditions. The fact remains that until the FDA decides to approve medicinal marijuana, people who do not live in Colorado, like Charlotte's parents, will have to continue to uproot their entire lives, seek treatment for their children, seek treatment for their children. In closing, I would like to again ask you, what would you do if your child was having seizures at a rate of 300 per week? What if I told you there was a medication that could stop these seizures? What if I told you the medication in question was cannabis, commonly referred to as marijuana?